Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are feeling well out there. Feels like we're rolling on through the week very quickly, I think, because most of us had Labor Day off. Let's hope we did. So we're really getting close to the weekend already. At least it feels like it is. So I got you an update weather-wise on what's going to happen for the central and eastern parts of the country. We're going to talk about the tropics also, and then we're going to give you the latest and greatest information on that cold front that most of us are trying to get here in the eastern U.S. I want to note here, there's a gigantic heat wave ongoing in the western U.S., and I know I don't really cover the western parts of the country much, but I do want to mention that. I'm sure there's a lot of weather YouTubers that are covering the heck out of it. And, I was thinking about it last night. I was like, dang, they're getting hit pretty hard out there. But for you folks out there, I'm praying for you guys. That's some intense record-breaking heat. And, yeah, you're getting hit pretty hard out there with some nasty, nasty heat, well over 110 degrees in certain areas. But anyways, let's get going here. If you guys got anything that I can pray about, pray over, please put it in the comments below. As always, it gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Subscribe if you haven't. It goes a long way. Like the video. That also helps the algorithm with these videos. And hit me up on Twitter or Facebook. Great way to follow along. So let's get rolling here. So we got what is Hurricane Earl now. I believe it's an 80-mile-per-hour storm per the last, I think, 5 a.m. update. And then we got this area of interest right here, and then an area of interest right here. And then we got Danielle, which was actually supposed to weaken probably about a day or so ago. But she is still kicking out here. Very large storm, and just a pretty healthy storm to be that far north in the Atlantic. So it's doing pretty well out there for its own. Will continue to just be a fish storm, basically. But Earl's doing pretty decent this morning. It will continue to head north. And we wait to see when it heads northeast so it can not be a big event for Bermuda. I think Greg, one of the guys in my comments, says that the structures in Bermuda are built very tough. So that's good news. So I don't know. I can't think of all the hurricanes that have made direct impact in Bermuda. But, now that I think about it, I've never heard of any catastrophic damage being done in Bermuda. So I know you guys are ready there, and hopefully this does not make any kind of direct impact on you guys. But we're watching this, and we're watching this. That this looks kind of weak, but this looks like a pretty strong, robust tropical wave. Could one of these become Fiona? And then Gaston is the next name behind Fiona. So latest 2 a.m. update, and really this is pretty much the 5 a.m. update too. So another update will come out here in the next probably 25, 30, maybe as much as 45 minutes. But it's an 80-mile-per-hour storm right now. This might get bumped up to an 85, 90-mile-per-hour storm. And by the time a lot of you folks watch this, this might be definitely an 85 to 90-mile-per-hour storm. And then we still got this area of interest right here, the one I just showed you. It looks a pretty stout-looking tropical wave. Still a 60% chance to develop. Nothing's changed with that in the next 5 days. And then you have this area of interest that's about to move over the North Atlantic. This has a 20% chance to develop in the next 5 days. We're watching both. But confidence is pretty high. This first one's just head on out to sea. But confidence is not high on that for this one. It might head out to sea, but I think it might head out to sea a little bit later, or it might just not head out to sea. So we'll talk about that too in this video and the latest information. As far as the Storm Prediction Center, the only area we're watching for severe weather is this area in eastern Oregon through central parts of Idaho, and then areas of Montana. But everywhere else, just a general risk of storms. Flooding is not going to be a big concern today. We finally take a break from all the intense flooding. So just a marginal risk of flash flooding occurring. That is a 5% risk. And we're just not going to have as widespread rains today. But let me tell you, the rains are coming for the weekend. It's going to be a soggy weekend across the southeast, that's for sure. So let's talk about what it could look like today for most of the southeast. And here we go. We're getting into early this afternoon. Some showers and storms already ongoing in areas of northern VA, areas of western Maryland, all of Maryland, really. In and around the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, even areas of in West Virginia. And then we're watching for some scattered storms to develop in the Triad, Piedmont of North Carolina, and then might drop south into central South Carolina a little bit later this evening. And just a corridor of showers and storms possible anywhere from Houston all the way through Jackson, Mississippi, and everywhere in between. A lot of Gulf moisture just building down here, ready to eject into areas of the southeast a little bit later. But then we could have definitely some downpours, some storms possible in the peninsula of Florida today. And then they will all diminish with the loss of daytime heating. Northeast today, dealing with some rain already that's kind of spinning around this little low pressure, this little cutoff low. So these storms aren't really moving much. There isn't much of a directional flow with these showers and storms. But some showers, probably likely. Storms, not so much for areas of New York State, Pennsylvania. The further south you go with more heating, the more these will be more storms rather than showers. But then maybe some storms will pop up in central and western areas of Pennsylvania. Same with New York State. We'll watch that, but not a big deal. Just a general risk of storms. South central U.S., kind of the same deal. We might watch some quick moving storms that might develop in central Texas and drop into south central Texas a little bit later today. Other than that, Arkansas, maybe a shower or two in far southeast and eastern areas of Arkansas. Pretty quiet everywhere else. Pretty quiet. And the most quietest area of the country today will be the north central U.S. Absolutely nothing is going to happen here today. Probably nice conditions. Temperatures, nice. It's going to be into the 80s, upper 70s into the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. The Ohio Valley is starting to, on average, cool down now. You're only in the 70s and low 80s. As far as the eastern U.S., probably the hottest people today, location-wise, will likely be the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida. It was just awful yesterday. For September standards here, I know we've seen worse in Columbia, and the older I get, the more irritated I get by the heat. I never have understood the concept, and I guess everybody wants to always fight the argument with, well, if you never lived here, then you don't understand. But I've never been the type of person that when I get older, I'm going to retire in Florida. I love my seasons so much. To me, change is beautiful when it comes to the weather, and I would hate to just retire or live somewhere where it's just 85 degrees all the time. That's why, I would never want to live in Hawaii, I would love the dream, and I've talked to you about this before. My dream place to live is probably somewhere in Vermont or New Hampshire, maybe the UP in Michigan, where you get seasons. Yes, the summers probably aren't quite as hot. I would sacrifice the beaches for the mountains. I would. But maybe Western Massachusetts, not necessarily near the city, but I love South Carolina. It's a diverse state. It's got mountains and beaches, but it's just too hot for too long for me. But I'm just a season kind of guy. I love changes. I love fall and winter just as much as I love spring and summer. But anyways, enough off my soapbox there. But very hot. Basically, when you get to the western areas of the plains, points west, you're just boiling. You're very hot out here, and record-breaking heat the further west you go. But very nice conditions. A fall, dreary kind of day for the Northeast if you're into that kind of stuff. I know I am. I like a good 60s and just kind of cloudy kind of day. It really sets the tone for the fall, but not everybody likes that kind of stuff. But the update on the tropics, let's get rolling here. Bermuda right here. Latest European gets it very close. We'll continue to deepen the storm as we get into tomorrow. Then we get all the way into tomorrow evening. It's just south or south-southeast of Bermuda, and this is probably a major hurricane, probably inching close to a 950 millibar low pressure, but luckily it just scrapes Bermuda, and not really enough of a scrape to really bother it. And then it moves on out, but big-time swells, and certainly some wind gusts pushing tropical storm force. That's why you got tropical storm watches up for these areas. And in fact, let me see if you guys actually have tropical storm warnings now. Yep, so you have actually tropical storm warnings up for Bermuda now. So, and that makes sense, that does. But this moves on out. The GFS is not loading correctly on the on Tropical Tidbits, which is fine. It's a free site. I can't complain about something that's free. But we're watching, Earl. This is Bermuda right in here where my cursor is. Earl gets very close to Bermuda, but luckily the trend west has kind of stopped. But, of course, the GFS has always been a little bit closer to Bermuda as we're getting into overnight Thursday night into Friday morning. So the timing has finally came into agreement here. There was a big differential in timing, but now it's came into agreement. But Earl moves on out, and we'll go on and keep this going and look into the GFS. One thing I noticed with the latest GFS, it's now liking the idea of this wave right here, which is this wave right here, not this. So this is interesting. This is new on the latest GFS. It's picking up on this. It's trying to inch north, but there's still a lack of blocking up here. But this ridge of high pressure is keeping it moving still west-northwest. And then it starts to build, ridging builds. And this is getting into around this time next week. ridging on top of this. Still not very strong ridging, but enough to keep what will likely be this is probably a Category 1, maybe pushing Category 2 hurricane. This is just one run of the GFS, but it finds a weakness, and as we get to about 8 days out, it starts to head northeast. But look, you get another ridge that tries to build on top of this, so it'll be interesting to see what this would do here. And at this point, we're very far out, so it's hard for this to even matter. But it actually finds this weakness, and then it heads on out to sea. So that has been the trend. But it'd be interesting to see, with a watch this feature right here. And you look at the euro. What's interesting with the euro is it actually, last night we talked about this, and this just continues to happen. It actually does away with that wave that the GFS is trying to strengthen, and still picks up on that wave behind it, but it looks like it's trying to head out to sea. And there's a massive weakness right here on the western side of this ridge that this would likely go out to sea. So there's not a blocking pattern up here in the North Atlantic. This is good. So it's really good. But what's bad about this is that Gulf of Mexico continues to warm. Now, it's probably not going to warm much more than what it is right now, but I just think this is just a matter of time for something gets going in the Gulf of Mexico. I wouldn't be surprised if nothing ever comes from the North Atlantic in the tropical Atlantic. We just, first off, we've had a pattern that's just favored wave breaking, which pretty much describes itself. It breaks these waves, these tuts, these pieces of basically an upper level low, a tropical upper level low that comes down and basically smacks these tropical systems with intense shear. And then we've had lack of blocking up here. So all these systems that are forming are just heading out to sea. But what's happening is we're taking names very quickly. It's very active out here, but it's just nothing's affecting the homeland. So this is the latest European ensembles. Of course, you still got a signal for that storm, but it's not as aggressive. It's not as put together, and it's not quite as many members. And then you got the one behind it, but nothing that looks too scary or anything to worry about. So let's talk about some good news. We're trying to look for that pattern-changing cold front. And here it is. We're going to start this around this coming Sunday afternoon, and we're going to move this in time here. If you're wondering what date we're at, here we are, September 11th. We're moving here in time, getting into the 12th, and this is getting into this coming Monday morning. Look at this big, nice air mass. These are dew points, not temperatures. So dew points in the 40s and 50s. This is a stout cold front moving through the Ohio Valley. This will be an excellent start to next week. And then this continues to surge southeast. It's just the latest GFS. I can tell you the European's not quite as aggressive, but does have a cold front. And as we're getting into our Tuesday afternoon next week, 6 days out, these lower dew points begin to ooze into the southeast, even makes it into the western panhandle of Florida. So this would be a nice air mass change for a few days, and it kind of lingers around, and then we have to watch for another push. So we're watching this. We need to work this consistently into the medium range, which is slowly starting to get there. But I'm looking forward to a cold front. I love talking the tropics, but I love me a good fall cold front too. It always sets the mood out there. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Asking for prayers. The plumber's actually going to come out tomorrow, and they're going to wrap up the issue. I just decided to actually get all my plumbing redone. The price, I'm not going to get super detailed with it, but make a long story short, my plumbing is very, very old, and it's all made by the old piping, and it needs to be done. I've already been thinking about it for about a year. So I'm going to get all my plumbing redone. I'm just going to make an investment in my house because I don't plan on moving, at least anytime soon. You never know what happens. Life happens. But I'm just asking for prayers that, they don't run into any major issues. You're going to have to bust open some walls, I'm sure. But, that can be handled. I know a lot of people's got a lot of other things going on, a lot of things that are much worse or significant. But, of course, I always, say bring your prayer requests to this channel, whether they're very small or really big. We're all here for one another, so I really appreciate people who continue to pray, and it really means a lot to me. It's a little family atmosphere we got going on here, and I think that separates us not from the rest, because I love everybody who is passionate about the weather, but it's a nice family air mass, a nice family air mass we have here. A nice family environment that we have here. So I really appreciate you guys. But God bless. Y'all have a great hump day, and I'll talk to y'all this evening.